Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer, otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse, and I am a health coach. I want to welcome you to my podcast, It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health. This is a weekly show that will share lifestyle changes that you can make to support your health yourself. Why do I want to share this information with you? 7 years ago, after being a business owner for 20 years, I woke up one morning in horrific pain where every bone and every joint in my body hurt. I went to the doctor, she ran lots of tests, and then she ran some more, and then she ran some more, and finally she called me and announced she was going to give me steroids, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with me and I should seek therapy. I knew something was wrong, I hurt. So she told me I would be on steroids for the rest of my life, and I refused that I was going to have a life of pain and pills. So why was I going to take steroids if there was nothing wrong with me? So I dug in and started researching, and I turned my business over to my staff. I found a functional doctor who confirmed that I had autoimmune disease by making a series of significant lifestyle changes that I could do for myself. 5 years later, I had returned to relative health. The best part is that I am now 70, and I feel better now than I did when I was 50. I no longer hurt, which is huge. I will always have autoimmune disease, but losing the pain has been amazing. I went back to school at 67 and became a health coach because I want to share everything that I learned with others. And I wrote a book called It Feels Good to Feel Good, Learn to Eliminate Toxins, Reduce Inflammation, and Feel Great Again, as the manual I wished that I had had when I got sick, and my book has won 13 awards. So whether you want to future-proof your health and grow old with dignity and grace without dementia and chronic pain and disease, which you don't need to get, or whether or not you already have a chronic condition like autoimmune disease or cancer or heart disease, and you want to learn about what things you can do to improve your long-term health, or whether you want to improve the health of your families and raise healthy children, because 53% of our children have a chronic condition, I look forward to sharing all this information with you. I will tell you, it truly does feel good to feel good, so let's get started. I look forward to having you join me here every week, and I want to give you hope that if you have chronic pain or chronic disease, you can make changes that will improve your health. And if you don't want to go there, you're going to be fine if you listen to the show and put these things into work. I want to give you information so that you can grow old and have a better tomorrow. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome to another edition of Tell Me Your Story, Future-Proof Your Health. And today we're going to talk about a subject that's very near and dear to me. I want to talk about our children and what we're feeding them. And I want to talk about children's health in general. This will be more than one show. Today, mostly we're going to concentrate on what the heck are we allowing them to eat. And I'm going to give you the frightening statistics that I hope get your attention, because we need to wake up and raise healthier children so that they have a better tomorrow. I'm going to start off with a quote by Michael Pollan, who is one of the best known people in our food today. And he says, "For is there any practice less selfish, any labor less alienated, any time less wasted, than preparing something delicious and nourishing for the people you love?" So what he's talking about is the importance of cooking for your children. And we'll talk about why it's important to cook. For one thing, you don't want to be feeding them what's in processed food. But for another thing, it's the way that you get to control what's going into their little bodies so that they're getting all the nutrients that they need to grow up strong and to live long and active and healthy lives. As a community, we must stop feeding our children the SAD, which is the standard American diet. because for the first time, our children are not going to live as long as us. Their life expectancy is dropping from where it is at my generation, and then where it is the generation below me, and where it is the generation below them. We used to live older each generation, but that has stopped, and it's because of what's in our food and what we're putting into our bodies that our children are not going to live as long as my generation. It takes a village to raise a child. That's an African proverb. So this is a responsibility of each and every one of us. I didn't have children, but it doesn't mean that I don't care tremendously about this subject. And I do now have two beautiful grandchildren with my husband, my second husband. And so I take this to heart because I want them to grow up to live long and healthy lives, just like I want all the other beautiful children around me to grow up and live long and beautiful lives. The statistics are appalling. We must stop feeding our children processed food and fast food. A healthy diet can have a profound effect on a child's health, helping them to maintain a healthy weight and certain health problems, stabilize their moods, and sharpen their minds. A healthy diet can also have a profound effect on a child's sense of mental and emotional well-being, helping to prevent conditions such as depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and ADHD. Believe it or not, the beginning of health all starts with what we put into our mouth or what we don't put into our mouth. If we're only putting the SAD diet into their bodies, they don't stand a chance because they're getting an excess amount of sugar, which is addictive and which causes all kinds of havoc in their little bodies. And the other thing they're getting if we're only feeding them processed food is all those synthetic chemicals that are also addictive and adding very little food value to their bodies so that they can't possibly function the way that they should or even learn the way that they should. The more I learn about toxins and health, the more scared I have become for our children and for our future generations. So that's what we're going to talk about in this show. We're feeding our children a bleak diet of fructose diet and sugar pop and chemicals from processed food, and this is making them diseased at a much earlier age than ever before. Fatty liver disease. Now, if you all watched my liver set of podcasts, there were 3 of them, and they're important. Go back and watch the first one because I spent quite a bit of time on what is fatty liver. In the first one, I explain what the liver is. It has 500 different functions in the body, and it needs to be working at optimal level. And fatty liver disease was unknown in children until recently, and now it's popping up more and more in our kids, and it's because of what we're feeding them. What causes fatty liver? Sugar. Sugar and chemicals. Remember, the liver is the organ that sifts through the blood and pulls out all the toxic chemicals and then tries to find a pathway for it to leave the body. And if it can't do that, the sugar, the excess sugar, starts to destroy healthy tissue in the liver. And when it destroys some of that healthy tissue, that becomes fatty tissue. And when it becomes fatty tissue, it can't possibly work at optimum level. And an unhealthy liver impacts every single other organ in the body and is the #1 cause for heart disease. So think about that. If our kids are getting fatty liver as early as 7 and 8 years old, then every other organ in their body is being impacted by that fatty liver as well. Fatty liver disease is on the rise in adults, but in our children, it's setting a dismal stage for liver transplants, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and abnormal cholesterol. It's also where triglycerides are made. Triglycerides are purely a result of too much sugar in the diet. Instead of changing how our children eat, our medical doctors are prescribing harsh medications. which sets up a rather bleak picture for our children's health because all these sugars and chemicals interrupt our children's learning abilities, their memory, their energy levels, their moods, their skin, their digestion, and the total picture to their overall health is not pretty. 54% of our children have chronic illness. I want you to say that to yourself again. 54% of our children have a chronic illness. That was unheard of 10 or 20 years ago. Sugar and chemicals are the cause of all of this disease. You and your family might have become addicted to sugar and those synthetic ingredients in processed and fast foods. And I want to define what I'm talking about with processed. It's not only all the things that come in a box with all of those ingredients that you can't pronounce and don't know what they are. It's also processed frozen foods that are loaded with chemicals that you can't pronounce and don't know what they are. And then the third stage is that restaurants now are buying a large portion of their food in little baggies that then they nuke and arrange on the plate. That's why they can have such huge offerings on their menus. But what you're giving them in the restaurant then, what you're paying them for is, again, synthetic chemicals that you can't pronounce and that you don't know what they are. And none of those are giving our bodies the full satisfaction of phytonutrients that we actually need to live long and healthy lives. Once you detox off of all these nasty chemicals, it's so much easier to stay the course of healthy eating. Food even tastes better once you detox off all these chemicals. Your taste buds change. So when your body is screaming for nutrients and you eat real fruits and vegetables, they start tasting unbelievably good. But you got to detox all that crud that's screwing around with your body first. Remember, children are little pitchers, as my husband says. They mimic what they see you do. So if you detox off the sugar and the chemicals and teach them how to eat a diet of all the phytonutrients that are available in nature to make them strong superheroes, they will want to follow what they see you do. So what I'm asking as I share all this information is I want you to get a picture in your mind of them being super veggie rangers and have them be the influencers with their friends that teach all their friends how important it is that they're eating healthy foods. That's where they get their brain power. That's where they get their energy to play. That's where they're getting their energy for life. I intend to inspire you to clean up poor quality food. And if you have children, I want you to do this for your children's health. I also want you to do this for your health, but we're going to talk about children in particular today. This is so important that if you're a parent and you're not aware of these statistics, I want to open up your eyes. 53% of our children have a chronic illness. 30% are overweight. 1 in 3 children today will develop type 2 diabetes. 40% will be overweight at the end of 5 years from today. There's a fundamental problem happening around our country when it comes to how we feed our kids and the lifelong risks they're facing as a result. Obesity puts kids at risk for medical problems that will affect their health now and will affect their health in the future. This includes serious conditions like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all once considered to only be adult diseases. Overweight and obese kids are also at risk for learning disabilities. And actually, sugar gets in your brain and mucks around with it and slows down memory and learning. So you got to get them away from that if you want them to be all that they can be. It gives them poor memory. It causes bone and joint problems. It causes a shortness of breath that makes exercise, sports, and other physical activity more difficult. This also makes asthma symptoms far worse and leads children to develop asthma. It causes restless sleep or breathing problems at night. And it causes, even in children, obstructive sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is where stopping every few seconds. It's not healthy for the child's body. It's not healthy for your body either if you have sleep apnea. But you've got to clean up their diet so that they don't go there, because you don't want their little heart taking that kind of stress. And remember, I talked during the liver podcasts that if you have a fatty liver, you are at risk, number one, risk at heart disease. It is a greater risk for heart disease than even people who smoke. So let's get rid of all of this crud. Let's get rid of all of these chemicals. Let's get rid of all the sugar in their diets and give them a chance to have a strong and healthy heart and strong and healthy lungs so that they don't get sleep apnea and impact their health even more. They have a tendency to mature earlier if they're eating all these chemicals and sugar. Overweight kids may be taller and more sexually mature than their peers, raising expectations that they should act as old as they look, even though they're not that old. Overweight girls have irregular menstrual cycles and fertility problems in adulthood. Half of our obese children, and I just told you that 40% of our children are going to be obese, so half of those, 20% of our children have a fatty liver. And fatty liver is something that you run around with and you don't even know that you have, but it's still wreaking havoc on your body. I discovered mine by accident. I talked about that in the last series of podcasts. I went for an ultrasound on something else and discovered I had a fatty liver. I've done a lot of work in the last year on my fatty liver, and for the first time, I'm seeing that I am starting to reclaim a lot of that fatty tissue to be healthy liver tissue. So that's all good news. So if you change today, you can save your child's long-term health, because even if there is some damage that has been done to their bodies, you can reverse it if you start feeding them a healthier diet. Fatty liver is a misunderstood disease, and it affects 90 million of us, 17% of which are children. Now, 70% of our children are impacted by this. I looked up how many children there are in the United States. That means that 13 million children have a fatty liver problem. Not good. And if you have a fatty liver problem, you probably also have a gallbladder problem. Gallstones are made of cholesterol. The liver manufactures cholesterol. And gallstones are when that cholesterol gets hard and they get stuck in the bile ducts. That's also where, by the way, kidney stones come from. So if you clean up your diet, you have a much better chance to avoid all these health issues. Of our children, 16% already have learning disabilities. 11% have asthma. 10% of our children have ADHD. Now, there's many causes for ADHD, and there's a lot of common thinking that they come from food dyes. So if you have a child with ADHD, do some research, because you can reverse some of that as well. 8% of our children have food allergies, but there are no statistics on how many of our children have sensitivities. Conventional medicine doesn't recognize sensitivities, and I want to explain the difference. An allergy is something like peanuts. The child eats it, they immediately react, and it could kill them. A sensitivity, however, is something that builds up over time, and sensitivities eventually become inflammation. Inflammation then eventually becomes chronic disease. So it's a different problem. I have 18 food sensitivities. It ended up, that was a big reason for why I got autoimmune disease. But by avoiding those 18 food sensitivities, I got instant pain relief. So don't just think in terms of allergies, think in terms of sensitivities. And there is a wonderful test by a company called Genova that will test where the sensitivities of the child are. Now, sensitivities can come and go. I was born with a series of sensitivities, and my sensitivities over the course of my life have changed. But you still need to be aware and you need to avoid those foods for your child. And don't just think in terms of doing an elimination diet, which I know a lot of medical people will recommend to you. If I had just done a elimination diet, I would not have eliminated most of my sensitivities, which are heavily on herbs. I can't have sage, I can't have mint, I can't have fennel. All of those bother me. Those are all sensitivity. Basil is a sensitivity. But they change over time. So I'm about to be checked for sensitivities again because I want to know if I'm allowed to eat any of those again, if my body has relaxed its sensitivity to any of those herbs. So be aware of that for your child if they're having some problems. It's estimated that 20% of our population actually struggles with sensitivities. My bet is if the medical community took them seriously, it would be recognized to be a much larger percentage. 5% of our children have seizures. Now, I'm not saying that this is all from chemicals in food or sugar, but there are reasons that they're having seizures. My father had a very rare form of epilepsy, and he had seizures. They weren't grand mal or petit mal seizures, they were different. But he was a chemist. He recognized that if he ate a healthier diet, he might be able to help control his seizures. So even then, which was 30 years ago, he was recognizing how food did play a part in his disease. By the time our children are 5 years old, they can have as many as 7 pounds of toxins in their little bodies. Now, those toxins come from everything. They come from the air, they come from the water, they come from the food, they come from our cleaning supplies, they come from our personal care products, the things we're putting on our skin. They come from suntan lotions. All of those things have toxic elements to them. So whatever you're using on your child, look it up in the ewg.org database and make sure it is not laden with chemicals that are harming your child. And the trick that I learned from an environmental toxin expert is you start with the smallest ingredient, which is the last one on the label, and you go up the label until you run into something that's extremely toxic. Then you put it in a bin and you take it out to the garage until you find something to replace it. So you're only bringing it into your house while you're using it, and then you're taking it right back out because it's off-gassing whether you are in the process of using it or not. So get rid of those from your house because they're making you and your children ill. New statistics state that millennials' health now is peaking at 27 and then going downhill. Gen Xers are making it all the way to 37 before their health peaks and starts to decline. So the following is for everyone, but it is especially crucial for children. I want to talk about how kicking sugar to the curb will help you reduce fatty liver and heart disease. And I'm going to give you all the benefits of ditching the sugar and the chemicals. Your heart and liver will function better. They will no longer interrupt your heart and your liver functions. You'll get back food freedom because you'll no longer be wanting to overeat because all of that sugar is turning off your hunger hormones. So you get your hunger hormones back and you'll have a stop mechanism again. So you're not overeating, and you never want to eat more than 80%, by the way, because your feeling of full will catch up from that 20% that you didn't eat. If you stop eating at 80%, you'll feel full at the end of a half an hour. You will no longer crave the chemicals in processed foods once you detox off of them. You'll no longer be eating that entire package of a high carbohydrate food. So if you're opening up a bag of cookies, you're going to eat one cookie, you're not going to eat the whole bag. If you open up a bag of potato chips, you actually can just eat one. There used to be an ad, I bet you can't just eat one. If you break your addiction, you could eat a small amount and be totally satisfied. Your palate will become more attuned to the natural sweetness of fruit and vegetables, and you'll find that eating the rainbow, which is how I want you to eat, is more enjoyable. Your body needs the synergy of all these phytonutrients in order for your taste buds to taste how terrific all that food tastes. You'll be able to make clear-headed decisions and enjoy those types of treats in the in extreme moderation that they deserve. You don't need to be eating the whole package. One cookie should be able to satisfy you, and that way you're not overeating all of that crud that's impacting your body. You'll stop indulging in things that you actually never really wanted in the first place. I know even as a child, I was addicted to all this stuff, and I was eating an excessive amount of food so that I was heavy as a child. If you break the addiction, then they won't be doing that anymore. You will stop you will stop hijacking healthy eating. Your body will start to want fruits and vegetables, and you're going to want to eat them because they're going to taste fantastic. And so that will be true for your children as well. You'll be eating more colors of the rainbow and getting all those beautiful phytonutrients that you need to heal your gut and lower your inflammation. As a result, your liver will begin to heal, and it will replace that fatty liver tissue with healthy tissue. You will stabilize your sugar levels and insulin, so your possibility of becoming diabetic will become less. Your moods will be more even because differences in sugar level take you high and low in your moods. You'll improve your blood pressure. You'll lower your triglycerides. You'll improve your LDL cholesterol, which is your bad cholesterol. They now talk about big cholesterol and little cholesterol. What you want is more big fluffy cholesterol and less little tiny particle cholesterol. And your liver will get more magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin B6, and vitamin B12 because it's no longer being cleated out of the body with all of those chemicals. So it will start to function more optimally. By feeding them the rainbow, you are electing to feed them real food with real nutrients that their bodies need in order to grow and to function properly. If you're eating a lot of processed food and you're not cooking, you are electing to feed them for convenience and not for nutrition or health. It doesn't take that long to make meals with real live food, and the benefits are enormous. And I'm not saying it every other sentence here, but I want it to be organic because you do not need a heavy dose of toxins with your fruits and your vegetables. There's a Dirty Dozen list. You can find it on my website. If it's on the dirty side, you absolutely have to buy it organic because otherwise you could be getting as many as 72 toxins when you eat that fruit or vegetable. So pay attention. I eat everything organic because I am particularly sensitive to all the chemicals, but there is a clean 15 that you can opt to not buy organic, and the in-between is up to you, but your children's health will be better if you're buying organic because then they're not getting all of those pesticides and herbicides on their food so that they're not dealing with that and putting that extra tax on their livers. I want you to cook. Control what you're feeding them. And the only way you're really going to control the ingredients that go into your meals is if you actually cook. And ideally, I want them to cook with you, no matter how little they are. Teach them to cook with you. They'll love it, and you will instill in them a lifelong joy of cooking their own food and what they put into their own mouths. I want you to look for quality ingredients and eliminate all the toxins that you can out of your life and your child's life. So why is it so important to eat all the colors of the rainbow? All the colors of real live foods have gifts for the body. Research shows that different colors are good for different conditions of the human body. And they all have different vitamins and minerals in them. Red is loaded with vitamin A, vitamin C, and potassium, and it's great for your immune system. Orange has folate in it, potassium and vitamin C, and it also builds their immune systems. Yellow also has folate, potassium, and vitamin C, and all of those are important to have a healthy liver and healthy body systems. Green is for your heart, and it has lutein in it, which are great for your eyes. It has vitamin K and it has folate. Blue has resveratrol, which is a strong antioxidant, so it can take care of some of the inflammation that comes with the body, and it will reverse some of that inflammation. And it's also, blue is loaded with vitamin C. Purple is high in resveratrol and in vitamin C. And then there's white. White includes garlic and onions, which are allicins. It includes niacin, which are vitamin B3, and riboflavins, which is vitamin B2. And remember, if you're taking a supplement for your B vitamins, you need all the B vitamins together because they don't work very well without each other. So take a multi-B so that you get them all. I happen to be particularly low on vitamin B6, which is folate, so I take extra folate, but I do take a multi-B so that my folate can be absorbed at its best possible rate. Typical diet provides more than 25,000 bioactive food components. Phytochemicals, also referred to as phytonutrients, are found in the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, herbs, spices, nuts, and seeds, and are classified according to their chemical structures and functional properties. Each color in fruits and vegetables is caused by specific phytonutrients, which are natural chemicals that help protect the plant from germs, bugs, and the sun's harmful rays and other threats. But they happen to also be really good for us. Each color indicates an abundance of specific nutrients. Eating all the colors of the rainbow creates a varied population of healthy gut bacteria. Specific foods, not just diet, have a huge influence on your microbiome. So eat as close to the farm as possible where your food is grown, because that impacts how many of the gifts each food has to offer. So we love to go to our farmer's market. Now, easy for me to say, I live in Los Angeles, and the other half of the time I live in Arizona, and we have produce being grown close to us year round. So when you can, wherever you are in the country, go to your farmers markets, because then you're getting food that was probably picked the day before, so that it is loaded with goodness when it hits your plate and you cook with it and feed your family. If you don't have a farmers market for part of the year, then you can go ahead and buy organic produce at your local grocer, or you can buy organic produce that is frozen that doesn't have extra chemicals added in. Variety is the key because of the synergy of all the different phytonutrients working together. When they get together in your body, they have a little party and they create health. So it's important that you eat all the colors at least sometime during the week. Make big, colorful salads. That will make your family happy, because all those colors are also very visually appealing, but they're also really good for you. A variety in eating all the colors will lower your inflammation, and this is what will prevent long-term chronic diseases. Eating all the colors of the rainbow neutralizes free radicals and lowers oxidative stress. Free radicals are what causes cancer. So you want to keep those as low as possible. So again, so your child can be as healthy as possible, and so that their immune systems work at full capacity. Diversity is key. 8 out of 10 people in the United States are falling short in virtually every color of phytonutrients. So wait till you hear this. Based on this new report, 69% of Americans are falling short of green phytonutrients. Now, I would have thought green was something that everybody was getting some of. But one of the reasons our kids are so sick is because we're not even getting all the greens into us. 78% of Americans are falling short in red phytonutrients. 86% of Americans are falling short in white phytonutrients. And remember, onion and allicins, they're prebiotics. They feed the good bacteria in your gut, and they're part of that category. So cook with as much garlic and onion and leeks as you possibly can, and shallots. They're all super good, and they're feeding your good gut bacteria. 88% of Americans are falling short in purple and blue phytonutrients. What we eat in our house a lot for purple is I make purple cabbage slaw. It's really delicious. I make it with a really high quality California olive oil because then I know it's really olive oil because California controls that. And I make it with some lovely red wine vinegar, and then I add organic seasonings to it with a little bit of Follow Your Heart soy-free mayonnaise. And it's a yummy vegetable, and I'm getting loads of purple and blue phytonutrients by eating that salad. And then last of all, 79% of Americans are falling short in yellow and orange phytonutrients. One of the things I want you to do for that category is start using lemon. Put lemon in your water, drink it in your water. You'll drink more water if you're putting lemon in your water. Somebody said, no, I have acid reflux. I can't eat that much lemon. Believe it or not, when you put lemon in your water, by the time it gets into your stomach, it turns alkaline. So it's not causing acid reflux. It's the bad fats and other nasty foods that you're eating that are causing acid reflux. If you eat all the phytonutrients in real food and real fruits and vegetables, I bet you all your acid reflux will go away. I used to have terrible acid reflux, and now that I eat a lot of plant foods, I rarely have a problem with that. And if I do get a problem with it, I don't take medication. I take a pinch of baking soda and a glass of water, and bang, it's gone. It neutralizes whatever's going on in my tummy and makes me feel great again. So, more on how to feed your children. I want you to sit around the dinner table with them for all the years that your child is living at home. That way, you can be the example that they follow with what you eat. So please make what you're eating be healthy foods and sit around the table with them so that you all eat those healthy foods together. That will make a lifelong impression on your child. Share your meals and encourage love and community. And electronics do not belong at the dinner table. Every single night, my family ate around the dinner table. We would tell funny stories on ourselves every night around the dinner table. And those are some of my favorite memories of childhood. So make sure you get that sense of community. Community is the number one most important aspect of health. So make sure that you enjoy the community of your loving family every night over the dinner table. Cook your food together, share it together, be an example together, and then share stories with each other so that your children grow up with that as an experience that they will remember and then take to their children when your grandchildren are born. Never dictate to the child what they should or should not eat. However, only offer them choices that are healthy. So you're going to offer them all kinds of different healthy choices, but you're not going to tell them that they can't eat any of those healthy choices. You're going to limit what they can eat so that you're encouraging them to eat health. Teach them to stop eating when they're 80% full. The other 20% will catch up within a half an hour, and they'll know that they're full. And if you have detoxed of all the chemicals and all the sugar, your two hormones that regulate your appetite will be working again, so your brain will register when it's full, and your children's brains will register when they're full. Practice gratitude at the table. When we said a prayer for Thanksgiving at the dinner table every night, what we were really doing was practicing gratitude. And that's an important thing for you to teach your child as well. Teach them to be grateful for their food, for the world that it grew in, for the plants and the animals that they were lucky enough to eat. And be thankful to people that helped get those to their table. This should be practiced in the form of grace, or even just a declaration of gratitude. But gratitude is an essential ritual for your family to practice. A healthy diet can have a profound effect on children's health, helping to maintain a healthy weight, avoid health problems, stabilize their moods, and sharpen their minds. A healthy diet can have a profound effect on the child's sense of mental and emotional well-being, and help to prevent conditions such as depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and ADHD. A healthy diet will increase their ability to think and to learn. A healthy diet will help them maintain a healthy physical and mental body. And never underestimate the beauty of gratitude. If you teach your children to practice gratitude at a young age, it will put their minds into a positive mindset, and that in itself will bring them a happier life. So start practicing gratitude around the table with your kids so that they have a strong sense that they are really very lucky little guys, that they have that abundance before them, and that they have the loving family that they get to celebrate community with. Cooking is so important. It's the only way you get to control the ingredients you are feeding you and your children's bodies. It's the only way you can ensure your child is getting the nutrition that's important for their bodies to grow and for their brains to think. Eating all the colors of the rainbow creates a healthy gut. It creates diversity in all of the prebiotics and probiotics that are in your gut, which are an essential part of health. A rich and diverse diet of whole foods offers the best combination of micronutrients and phytochemicals. Eating these is the best way to get vitamins and minerals and all the phytochemicals into your child's body and into your body. And without these nutrients, we are looking right in the face at poor health, disease, obesity, and more. You still might want to supplement to get all the minerals and vitamins that you need, because the way we are now growing our food, we're not getting as minerals from our earth. We're not rotating our crops, especially in factory farming, which is another good reason to shop organic. But you want to be able to make sure that you know that you have enough magnesium, and you know you have enough potassium, and you know you have enough vitamin C in their little bodies. So when you go see their doctors, make sure that gets tested, because a supplement might help, but the best nutrients come directly from the food. Food quality matters, and eating high quality real food will give your and their bodies the building blocks necessary to keep it functioning at optimal level. Crowd out with color rather than teaching them to eat with restrictive rules. You can make all kinds of fun little things with color. You can make little faces, you can make little trucks on their plates. There's all kinds of ways to make food fun using real food with quality ingredients so that they learn the joy of eating visually and emotionally at the same time that they're getting all that goodness into their bodies. Color is sustainable, creative, and engaging, whereas rules are restrictive, demanding, and exhaustive. So don't go running around saying no, 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 no. Run around and show them the yes, 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 and yes of what they should be eating, and then you be the example of eating it, so they become little veggie rangers and teach their little friends that in order to have mighty powers, they should also be eating real ingredients. Serving food from all the color groups enhances your eating experience, encourages your children to eat a healthier variety, stimulates the brain, and creates both physical and emotional responses. Colorful foods are very appealing to the senses, making food fun as well as nutritious, and brings pleasure on a variety of different levels. By adding a variety of color to your meals, your food also feeds all of your senses as it feeds your body. I personally love color. I have always loved color. What I did for my career is I created and sold color jewelry to major retailers, and color just makes me excited. It brings me a sense of peace. So develop that in your children. Let them feel excited to look at all those colors on their plate and to enjoy eating all of those colors when they're eating food. Color makes me happy, so creating colorful meals will work for your children as well as for you on a variety of levels. If you have children, by cooking with color, it will encourage them to eat healthier food. And don't forget, you can create all kinds of fun plates for your children when they're young because the goal is to encourage them to eat real live food, and color is an important part of that. Everyone with a chronic illness is so busy looking for the magic pill. You know, they all go to the doctor, give me a pill, I want to feel better. Guess what? The magic pill is all the phytonutrients in real food. We've been working and looking in the wrong place. The magic cannot possibly come from a pharmaceutical, and every pharmaceutical that we take giveth and taketh something away. They cause other problems in the body, whereas food truly is medicine. So if you teach your children to eat all the colors right from the beginning, they'll grow up much healthier and be less possible to go to the doctor to be looking for pills, that magic pill that will make them feel good. The magic doesn't come from a pharmaceutical. The magic comes from nature. And I want you to choose complexity every day. Eat as many colors as possible. Move synergistically through the spectrum of health. The colors in your daily meals will reward you with good health. And I also want you to add all the spices and the herbs, because they are also incredibly good for you and will add complexity to your cooking. And it'll make your meals taste so much better if you use all those herbs, plus they all have goodness in them at the same time. And then eat half your vegetables raw and eat half your vegetables cooked. Different things come out of your fruits and vegetables raw from cooked, so make sure you eat a combination of both. And 2/3 of your plate should be live food, meaning fruits or vegetables. Okay, you are what you eat, so this is why it's so important to eat all these phytonutrients. Your body replaces its cells all the time. Each organ replaces itself at a different speed, so I wrote down some of the most obvious ones because I want you to understand why you want to have really strong building supplies in your child's body for them to pull from to rebuild, because they're growing. So while they grow, you want them only to have the finest building supplies that they can grow with. Your lungs, the surface on your lungs regenerates every 2 to 3 weeks. You want healthy lung tissue because that's your first line of defense against viruses like COVID. It's needed, your lungs are needed for exchange of oxygen and gases deep in the lungs, and those cells take about a year to regenerate. Your heart regenerates 3 to 4 times over a lifetime. So if you do damage to your heart, it takes longer for you to recover the health of your heart. So take care of your liver because it regenerates much quicker, and then you'll be doing less damage to your heart in the first place because they work in tandem. So a healthy liver generally creates a healthy heart, also creates healthy kidneys and healthy intestines and healthy guts and healthy brains. So take extra special care of your liver, which is why I did 3 full hours on the liver, because I want you to give it respect. Your gut, the lining of your stomach, regenerates itself every 6 days because you're constantly poking stuff up against it, whether they're toxins or they're parasites or it's sugar or it's stress that causes things to poke up against the lining of your gut. And you want your gut lining to be constantly replacing itself because little holes start getting shot into your gut, and then little things start to leak through. So if it's replacing itself every 6 days, it's working really hard to not let that happen so that you don't become diseased. So you want to be eating all these phytonutrients to keep your lining of your gut as healthy as possible. When it starts to poke through and things start to leak into your blood, that's when your body screams foreigner and attacks, and that's what autoimmune disease is. Your system goes into hyper attack because it doesn't recognize what those items are that are flowing through your gut wall that didn't go through it the way it was supposed to just by assimilation. So make sure you have enough goodness in you to keep rebuilding that gut lining, because that will keep you long-term well. Your intestines lining actually even replaces itself more quickly than your stomach lining. It does it every 2 to 3 days. And you want to know why that's important? Because it's got a lot of corrosive chemicals in it. So you want to keep it as healthy as possible so that as all of the toxins and the things that the liver has discarded are leaving through your intestines, your wall of your intestines remains intact and they don't go leaking back into the body. Your red blood cells replace themselves every 3 to 4 months. For anybody who's diabetic, an A1C is the average of the sugar of your blood cells at that moment in time, which means it's grabbing old cells, medium cells, and cells that are about to die and doing the average of what your sugar level is because they're constantly replacing themselves every 3 to 4 months. Your liver cells replace themselves on an average every 5 months. Parts of the liver replace itself more quickly than that. So if you have a fatty liver, if you change how you're eating or how you're feeding your child, you can make a huge impact on the health of your liver in a short period of time. Your skin, they live about 2 to 3 weeks. And I did a whole podcast on beauty is an inside job. If you're having problems with your skin, it's because you're not eating properly and putting the right phytonutrients into your gut in the first place. One thing that happens when you eat sugar is it shortens your telomeres, which are the tips of your DNA that are kind of like the hard ends of shoelaces. And when your telomeres start to shorten, your age starts to show up more on your skin and your whole body starts to age. So you need all those phytonutrients to keep your telomeres happy, and you don't need excessive sugar because that has the opposite effect. Your taste buds, every 10 days to 2 weeks, they replace themselves. So if you've been eating a lot of sugar and a lot of processed chemicals, your taste buds have been dulled. But if you stop eating those foods, it takes about 10 days and you start to get your taste buds back. And what happens when you get your taste buds back is all those colors start to taste like they're supposed to taste in your body, and your body wants them, they taste good, and then the party can begin with all the phytonutrients going on in your body. Even your brain regenerates its cells. They used to think your brain did not, but they didn't put a time frame on it, but they do know that your brain cells are regenerating all the time. So if you're having a problem with memory or you're having a problem with learning, if you change the food you eat and start eating all the colors, you can impact your brain. And so that you know, sugar is what causes Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is now being called diabetes type 3 because that sugar is going to your brain and killing brain cells, which is where dementia comes from. The other place that dementia comes from is if you're not getting a full 7 hours of continuous sleep, then you're losing some brain cells because that 7th hour is when your brain sweeps all the plaque out. And so you want to be getting 7 continuous hours of sleep, and you want to be eating the full family of all the colors of the rainbow to give your brain the best possible chance to grow old with you and keep its cognizance, which now that I'm 72 is rather important to me. So essentially what I'm telling you is what you eat literally becomes you. So do you want to be fast, cheap, easy, or fake, which is what happens to you if you're eating fast food and processed food? Or do you want to be lush, vibrant phytonutrients? So take back control of what you're putting into your body. Shop and buy fruits and vegetables as close to being picked at the farm as possible, and then cook, because it's only by cooking that you're actually going to control what goes into your bodies and your children's bodies. If you're feeding your child prepared foods, or worse, fast food has almost no redeeming value. There are a few that have some redeeming value. Chipotle has a little bit more redeeming value than the others. Then you're feeding them non-food items that taste like food. They're getting little or no nutrition from those foods. So are you feeding them harmful chemicals, or are you feeding them things that will give them vibrant energy and brain power for learning? When you're cooking, include vegetables that would not be part of a standard recipe. So when I'm making my eggs in the morning, I throw in a handful of spinach. I throw vegetables in everywhere that they can fit because by doing that, I'm just getting more phytonutrients into my body, which is making my body, I still have autoimmune disease, but I have no pain. And let me tell you, it's worth it. I have created this healthy environment in my body because of what I'm feeding my body. So add veggies into muffins, into scrambled eggs, into cakes, into sandwiches. I add a layer of I like iceberg lettuce, but it doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. So add romaine to your child's sandwich. Add spinach to your child's sandwich. Add them everywhere because that makes what you're serving even healthier for your child. Stay away from cane sugar and fructose and stay away from fake sugars. The pink and the blue packet are actually neurotoxins. They're killing brain cells. So you sure as heck don't want to be feeding that to your child. And the yellow packet, that's killing all your good gut bacteria. So you don't want to be using that either. So all of those are not good. There are some sugars that have less impact on the body. You're not going to never have a treat. When I cook with coconut sugar because it's a low glycemic sugar, which means it does not make my blood sugar go high and low. And they're not everyday treats, but I do use almond flour so that it doesn't turn into sugar. The white flours turn into sugar. And I do use coconut flour, honey, and maple syrup because there is some goodness in all of those to add to my body. So if you want to bake treats for your child, try not to buy them as processed food. Bake them. Make homemade cookies. There's a recipe on the internet by Danielle Walker called Real Deal Chocolate Chip Cookies. She uses real life chocolate chips, which are soy free, and soy is all genetically modified, so you don't want that. So make real recipes that have goodness in their ingredients, and your child will grow up on those and they will crave those. They won't crave the other ones. Stay away from low fat, because low fat actually is not good for your body. Your brain needs fat. So you want to be eating the omega-3 fats, and I have a chart on my website if you want to see what those omega-3 fats are. Stay away from the omega-6 and the GMO oils because they're not doing your body any good. Try to buy from the Dirty Dozen list, organic only, and then you make a decision about the other things. And I strongly suggest you take a hard look at your budget to see where you can save money. In my second book, I have a whole chapter on how to save on healthy food. But if you haven't bought my book yet, then just know that you have places where you spend money that you could probably not spend money because it's so important to your child's long-term health that you feed them organic. Find other things that you don't really need and use that money to buy organic. Stay away from genetically modified. That has Bt toxin grown right in it, and that's the gift that keeps on giving in your gut and creates all your good minerals right back out of your body. Stay away from anything you can't pronounce. Stay away from factory farmed meats and fish because they have a healthy dose of an unhealthy dose of toxins in them. My rule is to eat meat that is specific to that animal. So what does a cow, how is he made to eat? He's made to eat grass. So if you're going to eat beef, you want to eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef because then he's eating his species-specific diet. Lamb, he only likes to eat grass. So most lamb that you're going to buy is going to be grass-fed. Pork, you want pastured pork because then he's healthier. Fish, you want wild fish. They also are loaded with healthy omega-3 oils. So you want wild salmon, wild sardines, wild mackerel. And on occasion, you want to eat wild tuna, but you don't want to eat massive amounts of tuna because he's a medium-sized fish, so he's eating littler fish that are giving him a high mercury content. So you don't want to be eating tons of wild tuna fish either because you're going to get too much mercury in that, which is disruptive to the body. So how are we feeding our children? How are you impacting their health? It doesn't mean that the food is not delicious. It just means now that you're feeding your child things that are nutritious. I did find one woman online that has been talking about the different stages she's been taking her child through while she feeds them. Her name is Brooke, and she writes, I think some people believe August, my son, and kids like him are missing out on a piece of childhood. But that's because, as a society, we've come to prize sweets and treats and the pleasure that food brings over robust health and vitality. We need to redefine what it takes to make a great childhood. It's no longer about having a Coke bottle with a straw, cotton candy at the baseball game, or Gatorade at the basketball game. Now it's about experiences, unforgettable family trips, getting outdoors and getting hands dirty in the garden. Strongly recommend you teach your child how to garden. Quality time reading books at bedtime. People are so strapped for time, so slowing down to do meaningful things like prepare real food, having your child prepare it with you, having undivided attention for our children, have gone to the wayside, which is why they are now like gold. So remember, this is not deprivation. This is giving your children all the things that they need at all the different levels. So I'm going to stop there because I'm at 60 minutes. I'm going to pick this up in the next podcast and continue talking about the health of our children because it's such an important subject. I want to cover all aspects of healthy children because I want to make you think about how do you want your children to grow up and how productive do you want them to be? Because the choices you are making today and the way that you're feeding your children is going to impact your children when they're my age, when they're your age, at any age as they grow older. And you have the power to have them grow up to be super productive and very healthy because all of those chemicals also screw around with all their feel-good hormones. So make it a priority. It's worth it. And convenience is not worth what you give up when you're only feeding your family processed food. Okay? So we'll stop here. I hope you will join me next week for the next edition of It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future Proof Your Health, and we'll continue talking about children then. Thank you. I'll see you again soon. Hello, could I see a show of hands if there's anybody out there like me who's tried to lose weight their whole life and not been successful? So you've tried all the different diets available. You've tried Weight Watcher. You've tried Jenny Craig. You've tried all the New York Times bestsellers. And the last time you did it, you started off great, just like all the other times. And you started losing weight. And then all of a sudden you fell off the horse. And before you know it, you're eating fast food and processed food again with all that sugar. And you don't even know why. And in the end, you've gained more weight than where you started out. So you now are beating yourself up that you just don't have the willpower to win. If that's you, I want to address the elephant in the room because 9 years ago, I got autoimmune disease and started researching because I didn't want the pain that came with the autoimmune disease, and the added benefit was I lost the weight along the way. So let me tell you what happens. Big Food doesn't want you to win. They've rigged the system. They've put so many chemicals into fast food and processed food that they light up the brain like a pinball machine. It's the same part of the brain that goes off for cocaine and heroin, and you feel great when you eat that food, but it's not making you feel good, and you're starving your body for nutrition because it's loaded with empty calories, so you're getting fat eating that food, and it's not giving your body what you need. And it's turning off all your own feel-good hormones of serotonin and dopamine and even your insulin, which keep your moods even. But worse than that, there's two little hormones here at the back of your neck called ghrelin and leptin, and they don't work, and they regulate your appetite because all those chemicals have subdued them, so you don't even know when you're full. So what did I learn to do instead? I'm eating the GLAD diet, loaded with all the phytonutrients that my body needs to be healthy and to thrive and to boost my immune system and to ditch the pain. And along the way of eating all this live food, I lost 60 pounds without dieting. You see, I was starving my body for nutrition when I was eating the standard American diet, and now that I'm giving my body all those beautiful phytonutrients, it's not holding on to it anymore, so it's just dropping it automatically. So don't eat the standard American diet. I don't want you to get a standard American disease, and I certainly don't want you to die the standard American death. Instead, start eating the GLAD diet, because by eating all those beautiful phytonutrients, you will be healthier and you will live long and thrive. Thank you.